morning and welcome back to the lecture series on tribal studies in India. So, today we are going to discuss the political institutions that are present in tribal societies, the political institutions that run a tribal society. So, political institutions exist as a way of performing the public decision making, and it nominates its own leadership, maintaining social cohesion and order, protecting group rights and providing safety from external attacks and threats. So, these are some of the basic functions or basic reasons or rationale for having political institutions. Decision making, nominating leadership, maintaining social cohesion and protection of a group and its basic rights from external attacks and threats. Tribes have a wide range of political institutions where highly decentralized political organization exists along with centralized political organizations. So, some aspects of decision making, some aspects of leadership are decentralized. Let us say each leader or each head figure is responsible for managing one aspect of the society, right. I will give an example what happens in the Santhal society, in the Santhal village system is that there is a Naike and then there is a Maji. So, the Naike or the Naike Baba is responsible for the priestly rights or the priestly duties, everything pertaining to religion and religious observances, whereas the Maji is responsible for looking at the political and administrative side of the village system. So, the colonial rule was responsible for dismantling some of the inherent tribal political institutions. They were responsible for affecting the tribal solidarity during the colonial period and caused significant changes to the tribal political structures. The scholars have often argued that the pre-colonial situation of tribal political structure was by and large static. However, historical evidence suggests that there have been three major trends. First, there was colonization and establishment of settlements by the peasant communities who were encouraged by the Mughal rulers as well as the landlords or zamindars to reclaim their land, for which they would be offered substantial incentives. For land reclamation, they would be offered incentives. Secondly, we see that several tribes such as the Bhils, Minas, Kolis and the Gonds were considered as dominant communities by the Mughal rule. Lastly, there was a rise of the state either out of the tribal matrix or as a result of imposition on the tribal system of authority by the Rajputs as well as by other caste groups. The imposition of a feudal superstructure on the tribal society had often led to the traditional tribal political organizations breaking down and reformation into distinct social strata based on the distribution of power and economic interests. The rudimentary political institutions of the tribals include the council of village elders, headmen, tribal chief and so on. These institutions mostly consist of a single person or it could be a group of people. So, let us take them up one by one. When we are talking about the council of elders, we refer to a temporary body of selected villages that generally coincides with the elders of the clan to look into the cases that are brought before them. This council is generally responsible for taking care of disputes and quarrels, tackling sexual offences, intrusions by outsiders and so on and so forth. The council is also responsible for dealing with deciding the agricultural schedules, the ceremonies throughout the year as well as other occasions. Next, we have the concept of the village headman. The village headman is a hereditary position subject to the villagers' opinions when required. Almost every tribe has a headman who acts as a spokesman for the tribe while dealing with various issues inside the village as well as while connecting with the outside authorities. So, the headman, the village headman will essentially act as a liaison or a mediator between the village affairs and the external administration. He commands the majority of the village and is considered as the guide and keeper of traditional values. Next, we have the figure of the tribal chief, rather the position of the tribal chief. The tribal chief is a hereditary post of supreme judicial authority at the tribal level. The chief of a tribe has the responsibility of not only taking care of the region, his particular region or tribe, but this chief is also the supreme judicial authority at the tribe level. So, next, talking about the uncentralized political systems, we have the kinship oriented political systems. Kinship oriented political system is a political system where a kinship group works as a political body. They are, part of a kinship, part of a familial system almost. So, this primarily includes a lineage based political system or a clan based political system. There is a blood relation among the members who are part of this political system. Talking about lineage based political system, a lineage is controlled by the eldest existing male who represents it in both ritual as well as political occasions. The constituents of the family and its relation with the descent group are based on marriage alliances and it involves both the circulation of women and the exchange of wealth that are associated with it. So, lineage based political system starts with maximal lineages to major and minor lineages and it goes on to minimal lineage. The whole group comes together during a conflict between minimal segments or when attacking or being attacked by outsiders. Now, let me try to define each of these lineages. What is a maximal lineage? A maximal lineage is the broadest or most inclusive kinship groups encompassing many smaller sublineages. Major and minor lineages refer to intermediate levels of kinship, meaning that the group is gradually broken down into smaller segments. Finally, the minimal lineage refers to the smallest and often the most immediate kin based units, usually consisting of close relatives. Normally, members operate within their smaller or minimal lineage groups on a day-to-day basis. However, when larger conflicts arise between these small groups, they may have to seek support and advice from their larger kin groups, which refers to the major and maximal lineages. In the same way, when facing an external threat or an attack or the need to launch an attack as a defense mechanism, the broader kin group unites for mutual defense or to enable a kind of concerted aggression. Next, we are going to talk about clan based political system. A clan is an organizing unit. The clan elders form a council in order to settle disputes. Each clan has its customary law and the clan council firmly deals with any member who violates the customary law. So, such a violator is actually dealt with in terms of very stringent hard and fast rules that the clan political system has charted out. Now, non-kinship oriental political systems involve political systems that are not necessarily determined by kinships. Such kind of political position involves the headman, the chiefdom, and so on and so forth. So now talking about the headmanship, the headman is one of the most vital political units in any given tribe. This position is one of the most vital political units in any tribe. The headman is an official position in a tribal group and is governed by some rules of succession, even though these rules may be very minimal or vague. The headman is determined less by descent or ancestry and more by an individual's personal characteristics. So, even if a man is a legitimate successor of a previous headman or a successor to headmanship, such a person from the headman's lineage must validate or meet certain criteria. He must meet his occupying position through displaying certain admirable personal qualities. Qualities of a leader, qualities of a headman should be there in an individual. Otherwise, even though he belongs to the lineage of a previous headman, he may not be nominated. Talking about chiefdom, chiefdom is a particular form of tribal political organization. In chiefdom, the focus of authority moves up higher in the tribal structure beyond the small communities that have lost their autonomy and that are reduced to interdependent political subdivisions. The tribe is composed of various chiefdoms that are politically independent of each other. So, in chiefdoms, descent groups such as the clans are ranked in hierarchical order, with one group that is chiefly or noble. So, in a chiefdom, what happens is that the different clans are ranked in according to a certain hierarchical order, and one such clan would be treated as chiefly or noble. It is from this group or clan that the chief, the clan, the concept of chief comes, and this chief from that particular clan holds authority over all groups in a particular area. So, chiefdom, although not directly determined by descent, is composed of several descent groups occupying a defined territory, and this territory remains under the leadership of the nominated chief. So, next we are going to look at the centralized political systems. Till now we were talking about decentralized political systems, and when we refer to centralized political systems, we talk about the intervention of the state. The state comes into picture. The state is the ultimate form of centralized political system even in the domain of tribal societies. What is a state? A state is a political institution with bureaucracy and diversified governmental institutions which has varied degrees of centralized control over its subjects. In contemporary times, the state is the political organization where all people live. Nevertheless, headmen, clan-based political systems as well as other such tribal units do exist within the tribal societies, and all of them are incorporated within the structures of the state. In the contemporary times, both tribal communities and their local leaders have come forward. They have taken the initiative to lead their villagers in the changed democratic setup of the country. In the post-independence period, the advent of the modern state introduced the ideas of general elections, panchayat elections as well as community development programs to the tribals. So, with the emergence of such new institutions that have traditionally not been part of tribal cosmos and their leaders, what happens is that traditional leaders of tribes have also tried to participate in the national as well as regional tribal politics. They become part of the centralized political system too. Now, the panchayat elections have seeped into the national and regional political parties of tribal areas in India. Panchayat and its members handle the various activities such as village disputes, village development work, law and order related issues, which were previously often being handled by the clan leaders or headmen. We see that the introduction of the panchayat extension to scheduled area, in short called PESA, P-E-S-A, this was introduced in 1996. PESA has given birth to the idea of local governance in the tribal regions of India. A three-tier structure of local self-government was initiated in tribal areas under the Act of PESA. Okay, next we look at the 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Constitution, which established the Panchayati Raj institutions in India. What is the 73rd Amendment and what are its highlights? What are the main arguments or the main focus of 73rd Amendment? It established the three-tier system of Panchayati Raj institutions at village, at block as well as district levels. It added part 9 and 11th schedule to the constitution. It gave constitutional status to the Panchayati Raj institutions. It prohibited the court's interference in panchayat elections. That is one very important point. The court cannot interfere in panchayat elections. And then finally, the 73rd Amendment also provided for reservation of seats of or for women and marginalized groups. I will say this again. And finally, the 73rd Amendment provided for reservation of seats for women and marginalized groups. Moving on to 74th Amendment. 74th Amendment established urban local governments which are known as Nagar Palikas. It added part 9A and a new 12th schedule to the constitution. The 74th Amendment gave constitutional status to municipalities and provided for direct elections to fill seats in municipalities. Further, we see that it allowed the states to adopt municipalities as per the system enshrined in constitution. So, the PESA Act was vital because the 73rd and 74th Amendments did not apply to the regions of the 5th and 6th schedules of the Indian Constitution. So, the regions falling within the 5th and 6th schedules of the Indian Constitution were not covered by the 73rd and 74th Amendments, and so that is where the PESA Act comes in, because these regions under 5th and 6th schedule had a separate jurisdiction and which were applied to these scheduled areas. So, PESA in other words provided for a village level democracy concerning resources, responsibility and decision making to be passed on from the central government to the lowest governance unit, right. This act extended the provisions of panchayats to the tribal areas of the 9 states under the 5th schedule and most of the northeastern states under the 6th schedule. This in turn gave the tribal political institutions a democratic political turn in India. So, they gained some kind of economy, they gained some kind of an autonomous status as a result of the PESA Act. With this, we come to the end of our lecture here today. Let us meet with another topic in our next lecture. Thank you.